All right, what's up, y'all? This is episode one of a non-existent podcast, and so we're gonna be doing a Bob Dylan bracket here. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Jason. This bracket, we thought it'd be trendy, considering Timothy Chalamet is the new Bob Dylan, and here we're gonna give you a little guide on a guide on how to be a pretentious jerk to all your friends when you potentially go see the movie, want to talk about some music. So here is your definitive guide to what Bob Dylan songs from the 60s and 70s are better than which.
And so I'll be here to represent the normie loser who gets bullied. No spoilers, but I may vote for many of the songs that were featured in the movie. And yeah, I only know of Bob Dylan as Timothy Chalamet, and I know nothing else. Just kidding. But whatever, dude. I mean, Jason's the more hardcore Dylan fan here. I got a few albums I love a lot and have heard all of his stuff, but we'll see. We may have some beef.
Yeah, I think, we might throw hands after this. So
if you disrespect, you better follow up with hands.
We might post that. We might post that if it gets a little too heated. But yeah, I will try to be the voice of reason when it comes to some of these takes, because I know what's coming. And I hope you all enjoy and get something out of this.
A special shout out to besteveralbums.com. I know Jason put this bracket together. He used roughly used their song ratings to put together the top 64 here. Besteveralbums.com is basically like Rate Your Music for boomers before there was Rate Your Music, before Rate Your Music was what it was today. Real ones had besteveralbums.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can go check out my chart at jgold28. Don't want to lead off with the plug, but if you want to know a little more about what the best ever albums are, you can go check it out there.
That could actually be cool. I'll link mine too. We'll link our best ever albums charts if you want to go check out some lists of albums. And I guess without further ado, so there's a little bit of seeding here, right? Like,
yeah,
So
yeah, I seeded it like you should. Corners of the brackets are top 4, and then top 8, and then top 16, kind of in the middle of the corners, etc. So this first round should have some easy decisions, and it'll have some hard ones though too.
Yeah, he definitely has more than 32 great songs to where there's going to be some great songs up against each other in the first round.
Yeah, you could even say more than 64, because we had a couple little arguments about what should and should not be on this bracket, just having a spot. So it's a tight race.
We'll get to one of my must-have admissions here. Anyway, so first round, I think this is easy as fuck. We have Like a Rolling Stone up against Positively 4th Street.
Now, both of these songs, great tracks, groovy, fun, rock and roll, man. But unfortunately, Like a Rolling Stone is a better diss track than Positively 4th Street, in my opinion. It is a shame that Positively 4th Street has to go up against Like a Rolling Stone immediately, because I think this track does deserve some serious recognition as just a seething roast, basically. But, Like a Rolling Stone, I think, has a little more... Like a Rolling Stone is a little more personal, and I think that carries it pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, Positively 4th Street's one I haven't spent a lot of time with because it's not on an album. But, listening to both of them, I think it's just hard to argue with what Rolling Stone is. It's like one of his most famous songs for a reason. It's great. It's a banger. I think it walks here.
I would agree. I mean, telling someone all they did in college was get fucked up versus, accusing them of wanting to see you get paralyzed. It's kind of a toss-up. But, I mean, really, I think one of them hurts a little more than the other. So I think Rolling Stone takes it.
And there we have it. On to the next one. I'll take this one off top because I have some horrible takes about these. We have If Not For You up against One More Cup of Coffee. This matchup doesn't really matter because whatever wins is going against Rolling Stone in the next round, but I'll just say on these songs, If Not For You, in my head, is not even a Bob Dylan song anymore because George Harrison did it better. But it's probably still better than One More Cup of Coffee.
Brutal. Yeah, that's a take. That is a take. I would agree that George Harrison does do If Not For You better than Bob. I think, its placement on All Things Must Pass is better than its placement on, Self-Portrait? No, it wasn't Self-Portrait. But
it's on whatever the album with Man in Me is, right?
Yeah. Not important, but
cut that, edit that out.
Well, yeah, we'll cut that. I think One More Cup of Coffee is a quality track off of Desire. It's got that edge to it, that real, the violin, the searing violin. It's got that kind of grittiness. It's dark. It's a more layered composition.
I will say, I think the bass on that song is my favorite part of that song.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to it in the car last night. I was like, bass is really cool, but if the bass is the best part of a Bob Dylan song, it's not the best Bob Dylan song, probably.
Yeah. I mean, lyrically, I would say If Not For You is probably, it's a sweet Bob love song. But One More Cup, yeah, I mean, I'm not a gypsy, so I don't know if I can really speak to it, but it doesn't hit as hard. So
are we sending If Not For You?
I will concede If Not For You.
All right. For the next one, here, you intro these.
Oh yeah, all right. For the next one, we got a this one could be a little tough. We have One Too Many Mornings versus Fourth Time Around. So,
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know One Too Many Mornings.
Yeah, One Too Many Mornings, kind of a banger. Down the street the dogs are barking. It's talking about his feet. That's not true at all. So, One Too Many Mornings, coming off of. All right.
So that's off of the album.
Yeah, that's off of
the
Times.
They're changing.
So good track. Honestly, I don't think it's anything special. In a way, I think it's a little less of a jaded. It's all right. Don't think twice. Not the. We're not talking about
right, Mom. I want to bleed.
Yeah,
Well, I'll just say here, Fourth Time Around is one of my favorite songs off of Blonde on Blonde, which is probably my favorite album of his. So I would push hard for it. I think it's sick. I think he's probably roasting the shit out of John Lennon, which I just admire because John's a piece of shit. But also, rest in peace to GOAT,
Yeah,
Come
he was
get the...
He was a guy. He was one of the guys. John was John was cool, and I get it. I mean, if anything, it actually it marks something of John that is very relatable in a lot of people, myself included. That he thought Bob was cooler than him. So, yeah. I mean, I think Fourth Time Around should probably take it. One Too Many Mornings, good song, but I don't think it's anything of a standout per se. And yeah, One Too Many Mornings is not about getting head, so it's hard to.
I love when my boys get head.
It is nice.
All right, we'll send through fourth time around. In this next matchup for the first round, this is one that I'll say is completely fucked up and kind of mean that this is happening in the first round. But we have Boots of Spanish Leather versus Subterranean Homesick Alien.
Yeah, so Radiohead made a splash appearance in this bracket. It's a pretty good tune. Pretty good tune. But in all actuality, we get the first instance of rapping by a white man on Subterranean Homesick Blues versus, a song about getting cucked by your European faring woman. So it's Boots is good though. Boots is really good. I don't think I could put it over Subterranean though.
I would pick Boots of Spanish Leather. I think for some reason, here's a take. I hadn't listened to this song that much because I don't listen to the Times They're Changing like as an album as much as I listen to Freewheelin' or whatever. If I want straight folk bob, I pretty much listen to Freewheelin'. But like to me, Spanish Boots is the melody in the vocal and even the guitar part. Like to me, it's actually just a better version of Girl from the North Country. Like, is that crazy?
Yeah, I would say that's pretty crazy. No, they are different, but subject matter wise, I'd say, yeah, they're certainly rivals in a way. Girl from the North Country is better.
Dude.
I mean, dude,
not cool.
I'll just come out here and say it. Hopefully y'all agree with me and I don't have to back that one up. But I wouldn't be mad about Boots of Spanish Leather beating out Subterranean Homesick Blues because for what Subterranean is, I mean, if you take away like the frills of it being Bob going electric, I mean, opens up, bring it on back home. Bringing it all back home. We'll cut that.
Edit that out.
Editor, please. But honestly, Boots of Spanish Leather, I ain't never cried to Subterranean Homesick Blues.
That's what I'm saying, man.
So, yeah, we could give it.
All right, let's send on through Boots.
That's our first big upset.
That's our first statistical upset here.
Our first statistical misstep. But yeah.
Oh man, this next one's hard too though. This first round is going to be fucked actually.
Yeah, I think this one's much easier though. We got Stuck Inside a Mobile with the Memphis Blues again versus All I Really Want to Do.
Yeah, so this one is clear. I think we're going the same way. I think Mobile walks.
Mm-hmm.
It's more so just tough because, it's a song that I don't want to send out. All I really want to do. It's such a sweet song. It's just a very purely sweet song from Dylan, which usually there's some backhanded fucking snarkiness in Dylan's lyrics, even when he's being nice. But this one's it's just nice. All he wants to do is, baby, be friends with you.
I know. Yeah.
It's just a nice sentiment.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that was not the case with Joan Baez. You'll see in the movie if you are still yet to see it. But he did not just want to be friends with her.
And she didn't want to either, dude. She wanted to kiss him in the fucking staircase right after he fucking slaughtered Masters of War.
Yeah,
she was like, she got wet from that politic talk.
I don't blame him. I don't blame her. I don't blame him. They're both. They were young. They were excited. The Cuban Missile Crisis was going on. So, yeah, that might have been a dramatization, but that's all right. That's all right. The sentiment was still there. Mobile takes it.
Easy. We can talk about that song more if we have to in a later matchup, but just really one of the more ambitious and really just one of the standouts off of Blonde on Blonde, which is a masterpiece album. So
yeah,
it goes through. This one should be fun. We have The Man in Me up against It's All Right, Mom, Only Bleeding. I'm just going to come out and say it, dude. I love The Big Lebowski and I love The Man in Me, and that's my pick.
Yeah, say in my opinion, this is an easy one. I mean, It's All Right, lyrically some of Dylan's most complex and energetic even deliveries on some of the verses. He does a great job of creating this repetitive tone that really makes you sink into the words he's saying. Yeah, I think The Man in Me gets carried heavily by being in the Big Lebowski, personally, but it's all right.
Though.
I mean, it is a good film. It is a good film. I mean, I've never been so enthused with bowling in my life, but
yeah, we can send It's Alright Ma through. I'll take the L.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't gonna concede that one. It's Alright Ma is just even it's like It's Alright Ma is one that even Dylan himself looks back on and thinks is one of his really shining jewels in the crown that was his cutting edge period. The imagery and the lyricism of It's Alright Ma. It's something that even he was surprised came out of his head. So we'll pay him the nod on that one.
All right. It's a hard
rain gonna fall.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that's going against Absolutely Sweet Marie. I don't know. You take this one. I don't have any strong opinions, I don't think, about this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, you should. It's definitely I think it's definitely a hard rain. A hard rain is just another one true to its folk roots, kind of like It's Alright, with these lyrics of strong imagery, showing off all the scenarios and ideas that he's got in his head. Somewhat of a protest song, yes. Depends on, I suppose, your interpretation of the lyrics, but it's solemn, it's grim, and it has a little bit of poignant optimism in it. I think emotionally, A Hard Rain is much stronger than Sweet Marie.
I'm cool. I'm good with that. I think Absolutely Sweet Marie is, out of the songs that made it into this bracket off Blonde on Blonde, one of the more forgettable, which, not to say it's bad, but out of that crop of tracks.
Yeah.
It's good. It's fine.
It's good.
It's fine.
It's kind of a banger.
But it's not rock hard. So we'll put It's a Hard.
I mean,
dude, I
get rock hard thinking about Sweet Marie.
Dude.
But that's another story for another time.
That's for another time for sure. Now we have this Hattie Carroll up against the infamous Hurricane.
The N-word song. Yeah, I mean, big props to Bob for just like ripping that one.
Absolutely let it fly, and contextually, like, I mean, if you really take Hurricane for what it is, he wrote an incredible story. Like, if you were to craft a song which would contextually allow you to say the N-word, you would write Hurricane. And, nobody questions him for it because he crafted the perfect story to excuse his use of the N-word. And for that, yeah. I think it's genius and should move on.
Well, I mean, if there's a runner-up for songs that Bob could get away with saying the N-word in, I do think Hattie Carroll is up there. That William Zanzinger, that guy was a piece of work, man. I am a big fan of The Lonesome Death of Hattie Carroll. I think that is a great tune. Bury the rag deep in your face. Now's the time for your tears. But Hurricane, I think objectively is the better song. Although there's a lot of parallels to draw between these two, both written out of, feelings after the news of certain racially charged crimes that were committed, or racially charged rulings to crimes that were committed. These are strong contenders, but yeah, I'd give it to Hurricane.
Hattie Carroll's the song that reminded me of Rocky Raccoon, right?
No, that was Frankie Lee.
Oh, that's Frankie Lee. Okay, cool.
Frankie Lee's a banger.
Like I said, some of these albums I'm not as familiar with, so I'm the dumb fan for the day.
It's okay,
Wait till
we'll
we get to the
script.
Blueface bracket.
Ooh,
I'm finna fuck him. I cannot figure out how to make this bracket work.
yeah, you selected timbre.
Hurricane moves on. All right, so this one for me is easy, I think.
Yeah, I think
It's
this one's pretty easy.
Tambourine Man up against Only a Pawn in their game. I think Only a Pawn, right, is like it's a sentiment that makes sense about like we're all losers basically. But
Yeah.
it's not his strongest song in my opinion. It's not one I need to have move on compared to the staying power of Tambourine Man. Obviously, it's a good old folk banger. So
Yeah, Mr. Tambourine Man, I think, has, culturally maybe less significance than the assassination of Medgar Evers. But I think it is a stronger song. Only a Pawn, I really like Only a Pawn in their game. Strong tune, 3/4 time, Beato.
shout out Rick Beato.
But and I mean I think it's still very culturally relevant. Only a Pawn in their game. But when you really sit down and think about it, wouldn't you rather be dancing beneath the diamond sky with one hand waving free? And for that reason, I think Mr. Tambourine Man takes it.
And there you have it.
All right. Next up, we got It Takes a Lot to Laugh, It Takes a Train to Cry, and Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands.
Yeah, I mean, this is one takes a lot to laugh. At first, I was like, not a standout off of Bringing It All Back Home. That
61.
Fuck me. Cut that. Edit that out. Okay, so I changed my mind because I said this was one of my like least favorites that made the bracket as I was listening through this, and then for that reason, I started listening to it more to establish that opinion, and then it just got caught in my head, and I think it's actually really catchy. There's like keys on it, right? Yeah. I think it's actually great, but Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands, perfect closer to Blonde on Blonde. I love it. So I think it's good. And
Yeah.
it's about Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Because later on Desire, he says, "I bet Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands for you."
He does, in fact, say that. And we'll get to Sarah later. But I would agree. Takes a Train. Takes a Lot. Good song. But, I mean, Sad-Eyed Lady is literally Bob's proposal to Sarah in song. So, I mean, I think he'd be bummed if we picked Takes a Lot to Laugh over that.
Banger,
Very
though.
important moment in his life and career, and just a very sound song. Deserves to go over Takes a Lot.
The thing is, Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands could be seen as the end of Bob Dylan's hoe phase. Before this song, you don't know who these songs are about. They could be about anyone from his harem.
That is
Sad-Eyed
true.
Lady marks the beginning of Bob, the focused man, the family man,
The
committed man.
I never thought about it like that, but that is true. That is true. Everything else, is about Susie, is about Joan. You really don't know. But, yeah, Sad-Eyed Lady. Good tune.
Send it through.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Blown in the Wind versus Tonight I'll Be Staying Here With You.
Absolute country banger off of Nashville Skyline, but Blown in the Wind is a classic.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we would probably lose all credibility if we kicked Blown in the Wind in the first round. So I think that should take it. Although, what really has the replay value is probably the more, I don't know, intricate and endearing tune, I'll Be Staying Here With You. But Blown in the Wind, classic, really thought-provoking. I mean, if you haven't heard it, you have to go hear it. Whereas Tonight I'll Be Staying Here With You is not an essential of the Dylan catalog. So definitely Blown in the Wind for what it is. As far as it being a song, I mean, yeah, it's great.
I will say, like, I think that talking to people who are, you know, casual listeners, Blown in the Wind, I think does strike a chord with, like, I think it's one of the songs that a lot of people think of when they think of Bob Dylan. And, like, really kind of, I think is a good summation of kind of his writing, his early, just the headspace he was coming from and, like, the style of writing. I think it really well encapsulates that early Dylan writing style that became, you know, so definitive.
Yeah.
We'll send it through. It's pretty easy in my opinion, but Tonight is a banger.
Yes.
This next one's easy, I think.
Yeah, this next one's easy. We got Most Likely, You'll Go Your Way and I'll Go Mine versus I Want You, both off of Blonde on Blonde. Both, you know, good tunes. One's a little more post-relationship-esque. The other is a little more, you know, dancing child in his Chinese suit. So, yeah, I think I Want You takes it. I think that's pretty easy. We did see Bob play Most Likely You'll Go Your Way and I'll Go Mine when we went to go see Bob a couple years back. But as some of you may already know, he's not the man he once was when it comes to his live performances. So
he just likes to not play any of the songs anybody wants him to play.
Yeah, which is understandable. I mean, he wrote those 60 some years ago. So
yeah, he's probably tired of them.
I probably would be too. But you know, both good songs. Most Likely You'll Go Your Way and I'll Go Mine. I wouldn't call it a highlight off of Blonde on Blonde, but it has its place and it's not a skip. So, well, none of them are skips, but you know what I mean.
I think I Want You also just stands out as like it's like an anti-Dylan song, you know. It's like overly simplistic and straight to the point. There's no, you know, overthinking or analysis that you have to do. It's just like, dude, he wants you. Figure it out.
Yeah. He wants you. And we want you.
So bad. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Next, we have Visions of Joanna. This is If You See Her, Say Hello. I'll take an intro on this because I do love If You See Her, Say Hello. I think it's a very, very touching moment about letting somebody go who you care about. Blood on the Tracks is one of my favorite, you know, so I love it. But unfortunately, it's going up against an absolute leviathan of a track in Visions of Joanna. Probably one of the best songs Dylan's ever written, in my opinion, and just has to go through, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, the scope of Visions of Joanna is just much broader than If You See Her. I mean, granted, I think both of them are relatable emotionally, but If You See Her, a little more about the longing side of things, as well as Visions, I mean. But Visions takes a more nuanced look at what it kind of means to long for someone, whereas If You See Her is kind of just sad. Visions of Joanna takes longing and puts it in to a more Dylan-esque situation. So, yeah, I would give it to Visions.
It's hard to even describe, I think, the impact of Visions, but really, really one of the best written songs probably I can think of off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
And the length of it, it's really one of the centerpieces of Blonde on Blonde, which is what it is. So I'll say that goes through. And you can take this next matchup because I don't give a fuck.
All right. Next up, we got Forever Young and Idiot Wind. So these two, we got a very heartfelt Dylan on one hand and a very, sarcastic, kind of snide Dylan on the other. This is one of our more polarized matchups, I would say. Personally, I'm kind of a Forever Young guy. I like the heartfelt message. I like the vocals, although, it is a little yelly at times. But Idiot Wind, good song as well. In the wake of his divorce with Sarah, really comes to a head with, the realization that maybe they're both fucking idiots, which I think is a very nice sentiment. But it's tough. It's tough.
I would give it to Idiot Wind just off of it being on an album that I care about. And truthfully, for me, as someone who doesn't really listen to Planet Waves, I listened to Forever Young a few times in preparation for this. It just barely sounds like a Dylan song to me. I think Idiot Wind more sounds like it sounds like a Dylan song.
It's actually a Jay-Z song.
Dude. Dude, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, Jay-Z covered Dylan for that one. Look into it. But yeah, I would say I am very okay with Idiot Wind making it over Forever Young. I think it's personally, for me, it's pretty close, but Idiot Wind, I think, has more value in the Dylan catalog. So, yeah.
This next one might not be super close, but for me it feels close. We have Knocking on Heaven's Door versus You're Gonna Make Me Lonesome When You Go off of Blood on the Tracks. I'm partial to all of these Blood on the Tracks songs, but Knocking on Heaven's Door is really quite good.
Yeah. It's a movie soundtrack, right?
That's another one that kind of doesn't sound like a Dylan song. His vocal is very washed out in reverb, which is not a common thing in the way Dylan's tracks are mixed. So that sounds kind of weird, but it gives it this very dreamy, kind of heavenly, as I'm sure what they were going for, feel to it. It's obviously a very simple, to the point, but very effective message. And you say oh, it's a simple message, but nobody had said it, that way before. So it's a powerful phrase that's repeated a lot through the song. Again, really solid bass line, mixed really nicely. It's a great sounding song. I don't know.
Yeah, I think this one's pretty close for me as well. You're Gonna Make Me Lonesome When You Go is one of my personal highlights off of Blood on the Tracks. I think, for what it is, it's a very honest account of his feelings that I'm sure, most people would feel if they're going through a divorce with someone they really care about. I wouldn't know. But, yeah, look for you in the stars above and tall grass and the ones I love. That's, that hits. So, for me, it's a toss-up knowing how important Knocking on Heaven's Door is for Dylan. But personally, I'd probably give it to You're Gonna Make Me Lonesome When You Go.
I can get down with that. And I will say Knocking on Heaven's Door, that's one of his songs that has been covered.
A lot.
Is it? Yeah, a lot of times. But who is it? Guns N' Roses that has the big one?
Maybe.
Or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way, my point being, this is one of the Dylan songs that was covered many times, and to me remains very much a Dylan song. I think his version of it stands up.
Yeah. Mama,
but
take
we'll give
this
it to
badge off of me.
Make Me Lonesome.
I can't use it anymore.
I think the next one should be easy. You want to take it away?
Yeah, this one's pretty easy. We got the ballad of Frankie Lee and Judas Priest versus a heavy hitter at the bottom left-hand corner of the bracket, Desolation Row. So I believe this was our 4 seed, Desolation Row. Great tune. Great tune. Ballad of Frankie Lee and Judas Priest is also a great tune. In a way, it kind of reminds me of you and I, actually.
Am I Judas Priest?
No, you're Frankie Lee.
Fuck, dude.
You died of thirst.
Damn.
Well, actually, yeah, I won't go any farther with that one.
Look into it.
Yeah, look into. Please don't. But yeah, the Ballad of Frankie Lee and Judas Priest, underrated in the Dylan catalog. One of my favorite tracks off of John Wesley Harding, for sure.
Honest question: is this before or after Rocky Raccoon? Was John Wesley Harding 67?
This is before.
Yeah, so this is the original Rocky Raccoon. So for that, maybe, well, if we did Rocky Raccoon versus Desolation Row would still win. So.
Yes. Rocky Raccoon is awesome, though.
Yeah.
I love Rocky.
Am I crazy in the parallel? I feel like it literally is that song.
I think, I think Paul might have taken a crutch from Dylan on that one too. But yes, Desolation Row is better. The visual of looking down this alleyway, looking down this road, and seeing all of these different scenes play out, and in the end, it all being a letter to a loved one, I think is fantastic. Desolation Row is certainly one of my favorite Dylan tracks, and arguably my favorite off of Highway 61. So, yeah, I mean, it has to go. It has to go.
Desolation Row moves on. Shouldn't be surprising to anybody. Now we're moving over to the right side of the bracket. We are at 37 minutes right now, but I think we're doing fine on pacing.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
I'm gonna just roll with it.
Yeah.
I think the times there are changing. We'll just touch on that. It's going up against Rainy Day Woman. This one's easy as fuck for me. I think the times there are changing is such, what would you call it? Captures the zeitgeist of that civil rights movement of the mid '60s so well.
Good vocab word.
Yeah, really an undeniable track. Some of those lyrics just hit really hard, and if you do go and see the movie, I found it a very powerful scene where he's performing that at the Monterey Folk Festival or whatever.
Newport,
and they're all they're all chanting the chorus by the they're chanting the hook by the end of the song, and it's an unreleased song at that point. It's pretty cool. But also just hearing Timothy put that oomph into those lyrics, and don't what do they say? You can't fucking what you can't you don't criticize what you can't understand.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, who knows if anyone can really understand any of these Dylan tracks? So, but anyway,
it's all over my head. But I do know that the times change over time.
The times change, and I think it's a timeless song. Rainy Day Woman, I mean, Getting Stoned is also pretty timeless.
Yeah,
I gotta say.
Ain't never gonna stop.
Yeah, and I know a thing or two about Rainy Day Women. I don't
35
think
35 of them hoes.
I got them lined up. But yeah, the times there are changing. Great song, titular song of the album. It's what more can you say? What more can you really say?
It walks.
Great song.
This next one I'm passionate about. We have Bob Dylan's 150 whatever Dream versus the Masters of War. I actually think 115th Dream is a great cut off of Bringing It All Back Home. I'm partial to that album. I like the song, but Masters of War is it might be my favorite song off of Freewheelin', and I think it's just a very powerful lyric, very direct. There's no parsing words. He's not beating around the bush. he's straight up pissed at these world leaders
Mm-hmm.
and their willingness to waste human life in pursuit of furthering their power.
Yeah, I think it's well put. Well put. Masters of War, I think, should certainly take it. 115th Dream, I think it is an entertaining and good tune. Good tune. But, it might get a little old after several listens through. I think it's a very amusing story, and, it's got layers to it, man. The layers are crazy. But, nah, I mean, it's a sarcastic and, in a lot of ways, joking Dylan song. So I would have to give it to Masters of War.
There we have it. And next up is going to be Girl from the North Country versus Gates of Eden. Yeah, I like both of these songs. I think one stands out more, being Girl from the North Country. I think that's another one of those early Bob songs that everybody knows and loves. Just a very sweet little love song about a girl from up north. And who knows what those girls up north are up to.
They keep their boyfriends warm at night, according to the Beach Boys. But that's another bracket for another day.
We ain't never doing no Beach Boys bracket. Fuck them.
Yeah, I mean, it would just be pet sounds. And, smile sessions are good, too.
Yeah, dude. God only knows wins the bracket. I just did it in 5 seconds.
That's fair. All right. But, yeah, Gates of Eden. Pretty good tune. Certainly not doesn't detract from the folk side of Bringing It All Back Home. Although, rife with religious imagery. Not as catchy as Girl from the North Country. And the North Country just has that wailing harmonica at the end of it, which I think is, it's Bob crying. He's crying on the track. But I think North Country takes it. It's certainly simpler, but I think the emotions hit home and carry it into the next round easily.
I'm down with it. Shout out Gates of Eden, though. Great little folk cut. That's a long one, too, right?
Mm-hmm. I think it's 8 minutes.
8 minutes,
maybe.
Yeah. It's all right, Ma.
No,
Another
maybe it's
long
7.
one off that album. But anyways, This next matchup totally sucks for me. I'm pretty upset about it. But we do have Buckets of Rain up against It's All Over Now, Baby Blue.
Yeah, these are two good ones. I mean, very heartfelt coming from both of them. Buckets of Rain. I mean, buckets of tears. What more can you say?
Buckets of moonbeams.
And it's got a good melody to it. Very catchy song.
Great guitar.
Yeah, I think Buckets of Rain is. It's hard to see it go out in the first round, but It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, I think, is just a little stronger. And by a little, I mean by a significant enough margin that,
I can't do it.
It's a for sure.
I can't do it. I'll fight for Buckets of Rain.
Yeah, I mean,
I let you take out the man in me. We need to send on Buckets of Rain.
Well, either one. Well, actually, looking at our second round matchups, I think Buckets of Rain would lose to the North Country. I think It's All Over Now, Baby Blue could edge out Girl from the North Country.
Man, I think Buckets of Rain is so great. Such a great closer to a great album. Again, one of his, it's not so over your head. He's just telling you some feelings, man.
But where it is on the album, also, let's just do a little thought experiment for a second. What do you think? How do you think Baby Blue stacks up on Bringing It All Back Home compared to the rest of the tracks? And how do you think Buckets of Rain stacks up on Tangled Up in Blue? I know this is,
On Tangled Up in Blue.
I mean, on
Fuck, dude.
Yeah, well, okay. Tangled Up in Blue is the best on Blood on the Tracks, probably.
Buckets of Rain is my number 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, so that might be where we're going crazy.
Very disrespectful to Simple Twist of Fate. Very disrespectful. I would have to say that's heresy, sacrilege.
I would say It's All Over Now, Baby Blue is it's probably my favorite off the folk side of Bringing It All Back Home.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few tracks on the electric side I would have higher.
That's crazy because the folk side is better.
You could be right, but I like rock and roll.
Yeah, all right. Man,
Dude, Outlaw Blues didn't even make this bracket, and it's better than It's All Over Now, Baby Blue.
I don't even know if that needs a response.
I feel like Jesse James. You've never felt like Jesse James in your life, dude, and it shows.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. That's a fair statement.
Can we please just put Buckets of Rain through?
Yeah, we can put Buckets of Rain through because I don't see... Yeah, all right. We can put Buckets of Rain through. It's a good song.
Maybe it's better to just get it out of the way, though, because I'm going to be fighting for it in every matchup from here on out, and it's going to cause problems.
Yeah, get it out of the way.
All right, I will just say this is one moment where I would like to say Buckets of Rain would make it very far if this was a personal bracket, but I have to be a diplomat today, so we are going to sacrifice it and send through It's All Over Now, Baby Blue.
The vagabond who's rapping at your door. He's taken all his blankets from the floor.
Dude, you're a vaginal bondage fuck.
Yeah, that shit's pretty badass.
All right, what do we got here? Shelter from the Storm versus I Shall Be Released. For me, Shelter from the Storm moves on. Again, there's something I like a lot about the writing style on Blood on the Tracks. It's much more simplistic and just straight to the point, emotional, in my opinion. Makes it very easy to relate to. None of it's over the head. I Shall Be Released is great. It's better than the band version, for sure.
I think so. Yeah, I think Bob's studio outtakes are better than what the band did. And Jeff Buckley did a good job, too, especially considering he submitted that one through the phone in the 90s. So, good work by Mr. Jeff Buckley, a disciple of the School of Dylan. But, yeah, I will concede Shelter from the Storm, but I do think, personally, I'm a big I Shall Be Released guy. I think the Shawshank Redemption wouldn't exist without it. But that's neither here nor there. But great tune about being in jail. It's like Bob's Folsom Prison. But Shelter from the Storm can take it.
Dude, I thought Shall Be Released was about when you can't get no pussy.
That's you're in horny jail. I've been there a couple times. It's a bad place.
Oh.
All right. Next up, we got Just Like Tom Thumb's Blues and You're a Big Girl Now. And Just Like Tom Thumb, I think great song. I like the sarcastic tone about it.
Hungry women.
Those hungry women, don't go to the prostitutes too early, Keep prowling. That's what I always say. Stay at it. But, Tom Thumb's Blues, it's good, but I don't think it holds up against You're a Big Girl Now, When your girl is in somebody else's room, it's the price you have to pay. Reminds me of the time this girl I was seeing got chlamydia, but that's it hits home. It hits home.
We can send through Big Girl. I think that both of these, to be honest, for me, both of these, not my favorites off the album they're on, and probably will get fucked later in the bracket. But that's just me thinking. I like both of them though. We'll get Big Girl onto the next round.
I do like both of them. I just think, for different eras, I think they're like equitably good tunes. I don't think one stands out over the other, but yeah, this is when you gotta, if you're playing into the emotions, I mean,
you're a big girl.
I think You're a Big Girl Now does carry some additional weight over this story about being in Mexico and, loving cocaine, but
You got some big old ladies down in San Antonio. Big old women.
oh yeah.
They got one churro in one hand, one churro in the other.
Double fist and churros. I love that.
This next one's kind of a fun matchup. I think they're two very fun Dylan tracks. Sooner or Later, One of Us Must Know from Blonde on Blonde up against Highway 61, the title track of Highway 61. Really, Highway 61 might move on just because of that weird kazoo.
Yeah, that shit is badass, man. But I don't think it moves on.
No.
I think the well, let's be real for a second. How do we weigh Bob not knowing how young she was? How do we really feel about that? Because I mean, I'm not one to support, the Diddy behavior, the Drake behavior, but I mean, come on, it's kind of badass.
He didn't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and I will say, if we're talking, instrumentally, the slide whistle, badass. It's badass, and it's the true rock and roll song. But Sooner or Later, I really like the piano and organ fills on Sooner or Later.
Yeah.
And I think, another one of those kind of jaded Dylan love songs that are all over Blonde on Blonde. So I would personally give it to Sooner or Later.
I'll take it.
It's part of a phenomenal stretch as well. I think it's what is it? 3 through 7 on Blonde. What is that? Visions, Mobile, I Want You, and Sooner or Later. Phenomenal stretch. Arguably the best stretch in music history. Don't at me.
Dude, you said 3 through 7, though, and 7 is Leopard Skin Pillbox Hat.
Oh, 3 through 6?
Yeah.
Yeah, math.
Yeah. Well, all right. Sooner or Later, I'm happy with that.
Yeah,
This
Leopard
next
Skin
one,
Pillbox did not make it.
I'm just going to come out and say I got some shit on this next one. We have ISIS up against Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. I'm going to go for the underdog here because ISIS is the only song off Desire that I like.
Brutal.
Brutal.
That's a brutal take. Yeah, I mean, you did say no to One More Cup of Coffee, so that makes sense. I do like ISIS quite a bit. And I also think Don't Think Twice is, I mean, it's a classic Dylan song. It's hard to not see the value of that one coming off of Freewheelin' and, being one of his earliest cuts. It is just a very strong song from the Dylan catalog. But, Marrying ISIS, that's got some real world comparisons to it. Like, however, in light of New Orleans, I don't know if we can put Marrying ISIS through to the next round.
I'll be sad to see it go. It's such a banger.
Yeah, ISIS is a real banger though, and
just imagine like that song playing, and then like in the background you're watching like 35mm projector footage of like beheading videos.
Fuck,
absolute banger.
You might be right about that. But Don't Think Twice. I mean, that's like your it is the archetypal breakup song. I mean, everything about it is so well put. The light eye, never knowed. It's hard. It's hard. I don't know. I don't know if I can go with ISIS. I think that's a career limiting move right there. I think we'd lose a little bit of credibility if we don't put Don't Think Twice through.
It hurts me. I think ISIS,
I mean, it's
a
desire.
very different era, right? So
It is.
It's hard to say. We can send on "Don't Think Twice." I think "Don't Think Twice" is more of the what you think of as a Dylan song. You know,
Yeah.
"ISIS" is a banger. Not one of his best bangers in my opinion, but we can get rid of it. It's fine. This next one's might be the easiest matchup yet. "Ballad of a Thin Man," one of the strongest tracks off Highway 61, coming up against "God on Our Side," which is a nice little sentiment that I don't care too much about.
Yeah, I don't think "With God on Our Side" holds a candle to the Thin Man. I mean, "With God on Our Side" is cool. It's a good song. It's a good song.
But can't fuck with Mr. Jones, dude.
No. Mr. Jones is timeless. I think "With God on Our Side" does sound kind of dated after several listens. You know, it's something.
Dude, also, like, has he not heard about the Crusades, bro? There was like 9 of them.
Yeah, fucking idiot. But "With God on Our Side" is almost just like a worse Masters of War with more religious undertones, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, "Ballad of a Thin Man," banger. You know, that's certainly one of the first Dylan tracks that people get introduced to a lot of the times because, you know, the ambiance of it. Just sonically, it's a very brooding tune. What he does there is very unique in his catalog, and yeah, it's very Dylan. I mean, shitting on reporters, genius. All right,
because something is happening here, you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. Jones?
And it also inspired that fucking Counting Crows song, "Mr. Jones." So if you like that song, then by association, you gotta like "Ballad of a Thin Man."
Yeah, that's the transitive property of geometry.
Yeah.
If A is greater than B and B is greater than C, then A is greater than C. I don't even know if that's the transitive property. Moving on.
All right.
These are 2 great love songs.
Yeah, these are 2 good ones. We got "She Belongs to Me" off of "Bringing It All Back Home," and "Like a Woman" off of "Blonde on Blonde." Now, both of these songs, great. You know, we get Bob's sensual side on a couple of these. You know, this is that deep, emotional, romantic Bob.
Some of it's over my head, but I will say one line stands out. "She can take the dark out of the nighttime and paint the daytime black." Just beautiful stuff about the power of a woman, the power of love. You know what I mean? And
very soulful.
You know, not to be heteronormative, but you know, in this case, it's the power of woman. It's the power of pussy.
It goes deep.
I really like "She Belongs to Me." It's one of my favorites off "Bringing It All Back Home." "Like a Woman" is phenomenal though, and better. And fuck all those journalists and bloggers saying it's misogynist. You're an idiot.
No, it'd have the same it would have the same sentiment if the roles were reversed anyway. Which I think is something that Bob does really well on Blonde as a whole, with you know, the little boy lost on "Visions of Joanna" and on "Like a Woman," showing the you know, the more immature side of things coming from both men and women, and in a lot of cases it is universal themes.
I think really that theme in "Like a Woman" of just like the fragility of love. You know,
I think it's great, and I would put "Like a Woman" up there. Side note: Jeff Buckley does a great "Like a Woman" as well. So if you haven't heard that, like I said, student of Bob, go check it out. It's pretty good.
Shout out Jeff Buckley.
Yeah, he does a good job of showing you what Dylan songs would sound like if he didn't sound like he was pushing one out. So, you know, makes you appreciate things a little more if the voice turns you off, which, you know.
I think, okay, "You Ain't Going Nowhere" is up against "My Back Pages" in the next matchup. "My Back Pages" just reminds me of the old mature Tito Ortiz. There's some lines off there that are just crazy. What does he say? "I'm much younger now." something. It's like it's not how time works, but
Yeah.
it's just trippy stuff from Dylan.
I was older then. I'm younger than that now.
Yeah, that's delirious shit. But
Yeah. But I think it is a very good end cap. It's a good bookend on what was a very outspoken and strong-willed era for Dylan, coming off of Freewheelin' and The Times, moving into a little more of that lighthearted, romantic side that we see in the coming years is a good way of Dylan saying, hey, like, that was a different me, so politically charged and involved, whereas now I'm going to be a little younger and play into the emotional side of things a little more than the, revolutionary side of things. Get into the romance a little more. So I think it's good. It is a good track, and I think it's important in his catalog.
you ain't going nowhere. I don't even know where that song comes from.
I do not believe he ever released it. I think
First seen on his greatest hits, then or what?
No, I think he gave it to the band too. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's another like I Shall Be Released,
Right.
where I think he might have been on the Basement Tapes with the band.
Okay.
But yeah, good song.
I don't care about this matchup. You pick.
I'm gonna give it to My Back Pages.
Send it through.
Yeah, My Back Pages. It's quality when it comes to where it lies in the catalog. So we'll
I do like
we'll be younger now.
your breakdown there. It makes it add some context to it. It does make sense with coming out on another side of Bob Dylan, which was kind of the last release of that folksy era.
Yeah.
So I do like that. Adds some meaning. So we'll send it through. Next up we have Sarah, one of the decent songs off Desire,
This one's
up
tough.
against Simple Twist of Fate, which Jason just alluded to being one of the stronger tracks off Blood on the Tracks.
Yeah, this one's tough, but not for me. I give it to Simple Twist, hands down.
It's easy for me as well. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think Sarah's good. I mean, if Sad-Eyed Lady was Bob's proposal to Sarah, then Sarah is, the end cap of all that. But Simple Twist of Fate, I think, is just genius. Personally, I think it's my favorite track off of Blood on the Tracks. It's all this turmoil within one's life and one's romantic endeavors. And then at the end, he just chalks it up to, like, shit, man. It's just a simple twist of fate. That feeling of, regret and wondering about the future and where that leads you. I think Bob touches on fate very well and very maturely on that song. So that's my 2 cents. Good tune.
I think it's a great example of these, like, just like the turn of phrase, Simple Twist of Fate, is like, it seems like something that is already like a commonly established phrase. It just comes off as like a thing that you would say,
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
It wasn't
What does it
necessarily
really
a thing
Mm-hmm.
until Dylan said it. And it just encapsulates so well this like complex idea, like you said, and just, well, it's just a simple twist of fate.
Yeah. Time forks and you go one way.
Destiny is everything.
It might end up with a lot of heartache. So, simple twist of fate. I also think just, calling it a simple twist of fate, and then, you get 6 verses of, really pulling you into the scenario.
6
also-
verses, dude?
Yeah, it's very poignant.
He's a crazy guy.
Yeah, and, you walk around with a parrot that talks. Who the fuck could have predicted that? Dude's a fucking pirate.
We got Simple Twist moving on, and next up we have one of Jimi Hendrix's best songs, All Along the Watchtower, coming up against Maggie's Farm, which is quite a banger off of Bringing It All Back Home. I certainly ain't gonna work for Maggie's pa no more.
No, that dude's that dude's bad. Yeah, this one's tough because right now we're looking at Jimi Hendrix versus Dylan going electric. Maggie's Farm does have some importance, some strong importance in the Dylan catalog. Like in the movie, they did it well where Bob turns to his band and he's like, "Play it fucking loud," after everyone calls him Judas and shit. So it's like, so Maggie's Farm, good track, really symbolizes the going electric era of Dylan, but All Along the Watchtower is a better song, I think. Except it's a Hendrix song.
This is unfortunately one of the covers where the song was stolen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I and many others, I think of the Hendrix song when they think of this, but it wouldn't be the Hendrix song if Dylan didn't write it. So
yeah, I think
I don't listen to Bob Dylan's version all that often. So
yeah, it's still good. It's still good. I think Watchtower takes it though.
I'd probably lean slightly toward Maggie's Farm, but nothing worth fighting about. So we will send through All Along the Watchtower.
I ain't gonna work on Maggie's Farm no more.
Fucking Maggie.
Yeah, dude, Maggie must have been banging if Bob was willing to put up with all that shit.
This next one, this is the one, right? Yeah, so this...
Oh, yeah.
Tombstone Blues going up against Love Minus Zero. Tombstone Blues, I realized Mac DeMarco stole on Cooking Up Something Good. Because Mama's in the factory, but now Daddy's in the basement. You know what I'm saying?
Wait.
Just the whole like lyrical theme of like someone somewhere, some other person somewhere else.
Yeah. Mama's in the kitchen
cooking up
something good.
So that's funny.
Yeah.
For that reason, I think Tombstone Blues is kind of cute.
Yeah, I guess, Mac DeMarco, he does take some influence from the folky side of things, although he does consider his style to be jizz jazz, I believe.
Jizz jazz
was the quote. Good guy. I've seen Mac DeMarco several times in person. He's a good man. I like that guy. But Tombstone Blues versus Love Minus Zero. My love, she speaks like silence, without ideals or violence. She doesn't have to say she's faithful, yet she's true like ice, like fire. What the fuck? It's good stuff.
It's good stuff.
Tombstone Blues is good. I think it's a good track off of Highway 61, but I don't know if it's better than Love Minus Zero.
Yeah, I could kind of go either way. Tombstone Blues kind of rocks. Love Minus Zero, very heartfelt, nice, softer, sonically.
Yeah.
Lyrically, I don't really know what's going on. I probably like Love Minus Zero better.
Yeah, lyrically, I think it's a little less out there. Yeah, the musical style of Tombstone Blues kind of does remind me of It's Alright Ma, except not as good and electric. I think, it's got that repetitive riff that just kind of gets into you. And then, the lyrics really shine. But, man, John the Baptist after torturing a thief, John would never do that. So what is Bob really talking about?
I ain't the one.
It's hard to say. Straightforward Bob versus very cryptic, ideological Bob.
I like straightforward Bob because I have small brain.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Love Minus Zero should take it.
Let's give it to it.
I think it's a little less. It's an easier listen.
Cryptic Bob scares me, dude. I see Cryptic Bob in my nightmares sometimes.
Yeah,
I'll like
dude.
wake up from a deep sleep and Bob is like floating. It's just his head, but it's like floating and spiraling above my bed and spitting fucking eulogies at me.
That's the Bob that sold his soul to the devil.
He haunts me.
Mm-hmm. As he should.
I'm gonna fuck some shit up right here and say "It Ain't Me, Babe" takes it over Queen Jane approximately.
That's not even fucking anything up. That's the correct, factual answer.
Another one that was featured in the film in a very powerful scene.
Yeah, I think that was one of the best scenes in the movie, actually. When Joni and Bob do their little duet, and Sylvie, who is based off of Susie, is sitting there like, dude, why the fuck did I even come here? Like,
And Bob tells
not to spoil
Joan.
anything.
Bob tells Joan to pick the song, and Joan says, "Let's pick something fitting or whatever," and then
Yeah.
starts playing "It Ain't Me, Babe." And it's kind of cool because you have this moment where Joan is singing the song to Bob, and Bob is essentially singing the song to Suze.
Yeah.
And it's just a very nice encapsulation of that whole triangle that is portrayed and followed throughout the movie. But
Oh, it's rough.
outside of that, very tough song. It's a very Dylan song, a very matter of fact, but also like I just think that I would feel so bad if I was in love with someone and they wrote that song.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably self-harm or something.
I mean, if
Which
you're
I don't
looking for
recommend.
someone to open each and every door, it ain't me, babe.
Someone
and that's
to
genius.
someone to defend you even when you're wrong. It
Yeah.
ain't me, babe.
Someone to close his eyes for you. Someone to close his heart.
All right, we send through "It Ain't Me, Babe."
Someone who will die for you and more. But it ain't me, babe.
That's also off of Another Side, and probably the best song off of Another Side of Bob Dylan.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Killer track. Hits home. You know, sometimes you gotta fend the bitches off with a stick. And that's what that song is about.
All right, next up, this is a horrible matchup for the first round, in my opinion. If I were doing a solo bracket and it wasn't arranged this way, I could see a world where both of these songs make it very far in the bracket. Lay Lady Lay, the highlight off of Nashville Skyline, I think most people would agree.
Yeah, it was the hit.
A very tender love song and a very sensual song. You have Bob Dylan singing in that lower register, very velvety register, and a very cute chord progression. There's a nice little B section on it as well. Unfortunately, it's coming up against Tangled Up in Blue, which is, I think there's 11 verses on that song, and they're all incredible. The storytelling kind of just takes you through this whole, it feels like it takes you through a lifetime in a song, and really incredible writing, and simple enough instrumentally, but does the job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's well put. Lay Lady Lay is good. It's I remember I was talking to my aunt about Bob Dylan once, and she brought up Lay Lady Lay, so that kind of stuck with me, like, oh, maybe this song isn't as cool as I thought it was. Just kidding. I love you, auntie. But no, it is a popular track. I think it does deserve its flowers. Very very heartfelt. Lay across my big grass bed. Very very sensual indeed. But Tangled Up in Blue is just Tangled Up in Blue, man. It makes the album something that it otherwise simply would not be. I mean, it's the recollection of love lost and love found and love lost, and it just takes you through this spiraling whirlwind of emotions and events that ultimately takes you to another road where you don't know what's coming, but you do know that you were tangled up in blue for sure. So I think Tangled Up in Blue takes it easily.
Easy.
Yeah.
Another one of those off of if you just look through the track listing of Blood on the Tracks, you have these. I was trying to get at this idea with Simple Twist of Fate, but like these turns of phrase that are so simple yet perfectly encapsulate an idea that is much bigger than the few words used. And Tangled Up in Blue is another good example of that, where how many songs have you heard where someone says, I've got the blues, or you give me the blues, I'm feeling blue. And combined with this story where it's winding and up and down and all around, and he's twisted up at different points and all these different scenarios that he's put in, and just to say I'm tangled up in blue, man,
Mm-hmm.
man, that's some shit.
Yeah, I mean, for being a recollection of some of the, you know, hypothetical or what do you call it? Like, for a dramatized recollection of some of the events that occurred with himself and Sarah, coming in and out of each other's lives, I think it really is evident that they were tangled up in one another, and blue would be the color I would choose to describe that experience.
Great cut. I'm sure that won't be the last we're hearing of it.
Yeah. All right.
You
Well,
want to pause for intermission?
yeah, I got to take a fat piss. Very.
And we are back, kicking off the second round of this Bob Dylan bracket here.
This second round bracket is getting a little tighter, so we'll go ahead and start it off. First up, we got Like a Rolling Stone versus If Not For You, which is actually not that tight. Like
easy.
a Rolling Stone takes it.
Walks.
That's a pretty easy one. Like a Rolling Stone, often considered Dylan's magnum opus, I think.
Dude, more like Dylan's magnum dong.
Yeah, I like that. All right, so that one's pretty easy. I'm going quick. Next up, we got Fourth Time Around versus Boots of Spanish Leather.
These are two of my personal favorites, so this is a heartbreaker for me, especially seeing as the winner goes up against Like a Rolling Stone. Between the two, instrumentally, I think Fourth Time Around is one of Dylan's most fun tracks. I really like that little, I don't think it's a guitar, some other stringed instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Very fun, very uplifting, and the song is about giving and receiving head, so that's special to me. Spanish Boots of Spanish Leather, man, it does hit the heartstrings. I would probably go with Fourth Time Around personally, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with Fourth Time Around taking it on that one. Boots of Spanish Leather, I think, is a very heartfelt song, whereas Fourth Time Around is a little more Dylan-esque with the sarcasm, the jokes, the imagery of forcing your bitch to chew gum after you bust on her. So, yeah, I think Fourth Time Around could take it, although Boots of Spanish Leather does make me cry sometimes.
It is one of those.
I've never cried thinking about Fourth Time Around.
Definitely not. Sometimes I laugh, though, and,
Yeah.
it takes a lot to laugh. It takes a train to cry.
It certainly does.
Next up, Mobile versus It's Alright Ma. These are two longer songs, two songs that go way over my head. I don't have the brain capacity to interpret either of these songs and what they mean, to be honest. But I do know how it feels to be stuck somewhere with the blues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Stuck Inside a Mobile. I feel like I have an interesting take on this one because, I think I really like the way it ends. The bricks lay on Grand Street or all the men, and you're left wondering how many times you have to go through it. It's kind of a bad trip, really. It's a terrible psychedelic experience being in Mobile, Alabama, which I personally have not experienced being in Alabama, but I do know what it's like to think that you're stuck somewhere on a mass quantity of hallucinogens. So, yeah, that's pretty mortifying, honestly. But It's Alright Ma, I think, says more with its duration. I think the imagery of these scenarios in Mobile are great. but It's Alright Ma, I think you can read into a little more. So that is where I would put my vote, personally.
Are we sending It's Alright Ma through?
I think so, unless you object.
I might lean towards Mobile, but not strongly, and I'll let you have this one.
I think Mobile sounds better.
I do love sounds.
Yeah, I think if we're talking strictly vibrations, I think Mobile takes it. But if we're talking depth of content, I think
it's life and life only.
If you're not being born, you're busy dying.
That is a hard hitter.
Yeah. So I think I do think It's Alright Ma just hits harder.
All right. It's a hard versus It's a hard R.
Oh man. Yeah, I like hard. I like it when it's hard. Personally, I would take a hard rain. I think, I think my blue-eyed son would be offended if I did not send a hard rain through. Although Hurricane's good. It's not one of my favorite Dylan tracks though.
Dude, that's because you've never fallen victim to racial injustice.
I've fallen victim to the hard R. But yeah, it's like one story versus like 30 stories, all rolled into one.
I'm all right taking a hard.
Mm-hmm.
Hard rain's gonna fall. We'll move on to the Sweet 16.
I do really like that song.
Shout out to Hurricane though, really, really great storytelling, obviously, and a 10-minute
pistol shots ring out in a bar.
A 10-minute epic.
Yeah.
All right, down into the bottom left quadrant here, we have Mr. Tambourine Man up against Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands. Yeah, I don't know, man. You take this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm say personally, I think Tambourine Man should get it. I mean, we all saw where Sarah took Dylan, and that was to some sad times. So, for the sake of my boy's well-being, I think Tambourine Man, Smoke Rings of My Mind did better for him in the long run than getting married. So
that's facts. That's facts.
Yeah, I mean, granted, some wonderful tunes came out of that hardship, but this isn't even really an argument. This is just me somehow trying to say that Mr. Tambourine Man is better. But yeah, I think. Ooh, I mean, it is tough. It is tough, but Mr. Tambourine Man should take it.
I think it should take it. Sad-Eyed Lady is a good closer, a solemn track, but Tambourine Man, it's a banger off Bringing It All Back Home. It should go on.
Mm-hmm. He's got a lot to say on Sad-Eyed Lady, and I hate to say it, but it does drag a little bit. It is 10 minutes of
it's a long song on a long album.
Yeah, but I mean, it closes the album super well. But Mr. Tambourine Man's badass.
All right. Blowing in the Wind versus I Want You in this next matchup. I think this is this could be a tough matchup. These are two very different Dylans that we're seeing on these two songs.
Mm-hmm.
As we've said, I think Blowing in the Wind is a very good encapsulation of that early political folk Dylan. And I Want You is kind of the antithesis of that. It's overly simplistic, and it's lovey, and it's a banger.
Yeah, I think I Want You is a banger. We're looking at woke Dylan versus horny Dylan here. Blowing in the Wind has its place in history. I mean, one of the most important Dylan songs, of course. But in terms of the utilization of the senses, the sensory experience that I Want You provides, I think carries it over. I think Blowing in the Wind, you're cooked.
Blown in the Wind, cooked. Sorry to all my woke masters out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, stay woke,
Oh.
or at least, within reason. But I think I Want You. It's, it goes deeper.
It's lovely, and it really stands out in the Dylan catalog, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a unique track from Mr. Zimmy.
And next up, an easy one for me, Visions of Joanna up against Idiot Wind.
I would also agree. Pretty easy one. I think Visions of Joanna should take this one handedly. Idiot Wind, great song, catchy, something just about everyone can relate to. But I think deep down, Visions of Joanna is also something that most can relate to. That feeling of longing for something other than what is in front of you, particularly with the ladies. I've certainly found myself in a situation like that. I won't go into any more details about that. And also, I think the Little Boy Lost, like I mentioned before, is a great metaphor for what really goes on inside of a person's head when they're faced in these difficult situations. I mean, romantic experiences can often bring out the most childlike of all of us, and I think it's well put in Visions.
I say Visions goes through. I think it's one of Dylan's best written songs, and one that just really resonates and captures a very challenging experience, as Jason touched on, as kind of being discontent, longing for something that isn't there, and this search to fill some void, or to turn your visions into reality, and the inability to do so leaves one high and dry and sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucked. It's a great song, one of my favorite Dylan songs, and it will move on.
A highlight of Blonde on Blonde.
It will move on to face the winner of this next matchup, which is You're Gonna Make Me Lonesome When You Go and Desolation Row, the epic closer on Highway 61.
This is, I hate to say it, but Desolation Row should also take this one handedly. Desolation Row is, like Brandon said, a true epic of really looking out your window and seeing all this turmoil, this craziness in society, and, resigning yourself to writing about it in a letter back home. Whereas Make Me Lonesome, another one of those tracks that, very heartfelt, very understandable, but Desolation Row, it's an epic.
Desolation takes it. Easy money, to be fair. Shout out to Lonesome. It's a good song, but it doesn't stand. This next matchup is interesting. These are two, in my opinion, two masterpieces of political commentary from Bob Dylan. We have The Times They Are Changin' up against Masters of War. I really like Masters of War. I think lyrically, it's one of my favorites, and just, this is angry Dylan, There ain't no two ways about it. He's pissed off, and he ain't holding back. Unfortunately, unfortunately, it's going up against The Times They Are Changin', which is such a singular track and just all-encompassing of this, this movement towards political progress. It so perfectly captures the essence of civil rights and all that stuff. So,
I think, both of them timeless, both of them, great examples of that era of Dylan. However, I think The Times They Are Changing deserves a shout out for predicting that the slow one now will later be fast, which I take to be a metaphor for the rise of autism in society. It's very deep. It's very trendy now. So, in ways unbeknownst to the man himself, the slow one now has become fast. That should probably be cut out. However, I think the times there are changing. It's a great meta analysis of society in general, whereas Masters of War is a little more pointed, definitely angrier, perhaps a bit more motivated and yeah. So, but the times I think should take it.
The autistic takeover wins.
Mm-hmm.
And next up, a couple of love songs. The Girl from the North Country up against It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. This one I think is kind of close.
I agree. I think this one's very close.
Could go either way. You've got, well, The Girl from the North Country is very sweet, I would say. It's very sweet. It's All Over Now. It's a little more sorrowful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Both do the job very well.
I mean, it's a song of longing versus a song of goodbyes. Goodbyes from what, you might ask? Goodbyes from the old Dylan, welcoming in the new era. Goodbye romantically. It really is up for interpretation. I think It's All Over Now, Baby Blue is a more widely interpretable song.
That's kind of fun thinking about It's All Over Now, Baby Blue as him talking to the folk people.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really think about it like that because I'm an idiot. But
yeah, that was something I really didn't think about too much before seeing the movie, which
Timothy.
Yeah, Timothy. Really, I figure that was kind of part of their intention with the performance of It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, which is a great song, a highlight from bringing it all back home. So
I think we can send it through.
I think so too. Especially because, well, there are two versions of Girl from the North Country.
Right. Which do you prefer? I think most people like the Johnny Cash version, no?
I prefer the original.
Yeah.
Personally.
They're both good. I like the production on Nashville Skyline.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, just as a whole, that album sounds very nice, very clean.
Yeah. I think the Johnny Cash and Dylan version is great, but I think the subject matter of the song and the vibe that it really puts forward is a little better done by one voice rather than two.
Right.
Just simply when you look at the whole thing, it's you
got a very different vocal performance from Dylan himself on both.
That
as
is
well.
true. Yeah, but no, both great versions. If you haven't heard the Nashville Skyline version, go check it out. Worth a nod for sure.
And they both lose to It's All Over Now, Baby Blue.
Yeah.
Now we've got a couple of Blood on the Tracks cuts going against each other. We have Shelter from the Storm up against You're a Big Girl Now. I will push for Shelter from the Storm here. I think it's just a slightly better song. Very nice little message about finding solace in your partner, and something that I think most people who are fortunate to have loved or to have loved and lost, or most people who are gay or straight can probably relate to. This idea of feeling like your life is in complete turmoil, but you can find solace in the company of this one special someone. And on that note, I'm gay.
Beautifully put, and inclusive, which I'm all for. I would agree. Shelter from the Storm reminds me of like the good times before my girl had chlamydia, and You're a Big Girl Now reminds me of the chlamydia. So I would probably have to. I would have to agree. "Shelter from the Storm" is a beautiful song. Beautiful song. Great, great guitar work. Good imagery. A little more about the vision than "You're a Big Girl Now," which is certainly a little more personal.
I also think that it's a nice moment on Blood of the Tracks, which is so much of that album is about the loss of love, whereas Shelter from the Storm really focuses on, the positive of what there was to be gained from the experience. And I think it's nice, especially Dylan being at the end of such a relationship, to be able to reflect and like retrospectively write about what he got from Sarah. I think is a beautiful thing.
That is a good point. It is one kind of moment of light in what is otherwise a very heavy and melancholic album. So, yeah,
Send
Shelter,
it through.
great song.
This one's kind of interesting, I think. We got Sooner or Later, which is a banger from Blonde on Blonde, and Don't Think Twice, It's All Right, which, as Jason talked about before, really, really great cut off of Freewheelin'. These are two very different songs, in my opinion. Kind of a tough one to break down.
Yeah, two different takes on the end of a relationship. One being more of a serious relationship, the other one, being a fling with a young girl. Which,
Don't think twice, baby. It's all right.
Yeah, don't think twice. It's don't talk about this to anyone.
Forget this ever happened.
Yeah, please don't. Please. But nah, in all seriousness, Sooner or Later is certainly more of a banger, but Don't Think Twice is perhaps a little more relatable.
Dude, it's gaslighting.
It's gaslighting.
Dude, it's master manipulator.
One of us must know. But I think the that is part of what makes Blonde on Blonde so good, is that it is, as a whole, very flawed from the male perspective, like the male responsibility, and a lot of it is flawed, and that's why Blonde on Blonde is like, when it comes to the love songs on Blonde, they're so much more real than the idealized versions of other takes, right? Which, not to say that Don't Think Twice is idealized, because that's
It's also gaslighting.
yeah. But no, it's badass. This one's a toss-up for me, personally. So
I'll send through Sooner or Later because it's more of a banger,
okay, yeah, I'm okay with that.
and it's off the better album. So
Yes, although Freewheelin' is really good.
man, all right. Next up, we got Ballad of a Thin Man versus Just Like a Woman. Here we have psychedelic Dylan up against misogynist Dylan, apparently.
Yeah,
And I like misogynist Dylan. According to this matchup, I would take Just Like a Woman. Ballad of a Thin Man's awesome. It is one of my favorites off of Highway 61. But Just Like a Woman is just so awesome. I just love it. It's a beautiful song. I think it's a beautiful message, as I said, about the fragility of love. It's to be able to see someone at their most vulnerable, I think is what that captures. And it's a great song, really beautiful song. I would take Just Like a Woman.
yeah, I would agree. I mean, I do love some of the imagery in Ballad of a Thin Man, like when the sword swallower gives you his throat back, gives you your throat back, kind of showing that, he was making you swallow the sword the entire time. Fucking crazy.
Dude, I'll make you swallow my sword.
Yeah, that's getting cut. But no, Just Like a Woman, incredibly heartfelt, incredibly real. Another one of those very down to earth cuts from Blonde on Blonde that hurts. It's it's a very melancholic take on what it's like to be a part of a relationship. So
I'll say also one of my probably one of my favorite vocal performances from Dylan. I like it a lot. I think he does a really good job. Obviously, in his own Dylan way, he doesn't sing like Aretha Franklin or anything on it, but in his own way, I think a very good, very strong performance.
She takes, she breaks, she aches, she fakes.
It's crazy, dude. He was rhyming in rhyme schemes. He was going to A B A B what A A A A.
Yeah, I guess that's A.
All right, next up. This one's easy, I think. My Back Pages versus Simple Twist of Fate. My Back Pages is sketch, dude. It gives me a bad trip. It's delirious. Just kidding.
Benjamin Button.
Yeah. No, it's about Tito Ortiz and how he's faster and younger and stronger than he was 12 years ago. But no, I mean, Simple Twist of Fate's better.
Yeah, Simple Twist of Fate is just better. The story, it's not rooted in the history. As a standalone, My Back Pages does not hold up to Simple Twist of Fate, because Simple Twist of Fate is, once again, a timeless track, and a very relatable set of emotions that go into it. Everyone has wondered at some point what could have been, and if it weren't for that simple twist of fate, who knows? So, great song. I'd put it over Back Pages as well.
All right. Next up, we got All Along the Watchtower versus Love Minus Zero. Again, I feel like I shouldn't even have a vote because I don't listen to the Dylan version of All Along the Watchtower, and it's not a Bob Dylan song, in my opinion. So,
yeah, but oh man, it is tough. My love.
Yo, this matchup doesn't matter at all because of the next round.
That is true. So, I think it should go to All Along the Watchtower because of what it is in terms of like its literary depth. The Joker and the Thief has so many applications to it, whether the Joker is Dylan, perhaps the thief is Elvis, who knows?
Shit.
And the circularity of it as well, in which we get the conversation and then we get them shown from the perspective of the Watchtower. Two riders were approaching. You really don't know if the two riders are the Joker and the thief, or it's up for so much interpretation.
Or is the thief Jimi Hendrix, dude? And Bob Dylan told the future.
Oh my god, you might be right, dude. But
I predicted this. Mystic Bob.
But just like Mobile, I do think it is very interesting from the bad trip interpretation, because at the start of it all, the Joker says to the thief, dude, there must be some way out of here. And so
bad trip.
They might be stuck, dude.
All right,
we'll stuck in the thought loops, man.
We'll send Watchtower through off of being one of Jimi Hendrix's best songs, and a brilliant analysis from Jay Gold here.
Mm-hmm.
The next matchup would be tough if you were brain dead or something like that. But It Ain't Me, Babe has to be eliminated by Tangled Up in Blue. Like we talked about both of these at pretty good length before, so I think we can just keep it short and sweet. It Ain't Me, Babe, great song, but Tangled Up in Blue batters it out in this round, I'm afraid.
Yes, I would agree. Although we gotta give the flowers to It Ain't Me, Babe. That is
respect.
It is a great one, and if we organize this differently, perhaps it could have made the the round of 16.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, unfortunately, it does not.
Not in this bracket. Maybe in another reality, on another timeline. It Ain't Me, Babe.
Yeah.
Just walking through to the quarterfinals. But
if we had a simple twist of fate, maybe It Ain't Me, Babe. But it's not how the cookie crumbles today.
Yep. Anyways, back up to the top left quadrant as we kick off the Sweet 16 round here. We have a sad one for me, as I alluded to in the previous round. Like a Rolling Stone going up against a personal favorite of mine, fourth time around. I would push for fourth time around, but I'm going to accept my fate, and that is not likely to be what happens here.
Yeah, that would be correct. Fourth time around, great song, very Dylan, very sarcastic. But Like a Rolling Stone is just so pointed, so sassy. I mean, and it deserves the praise that everyone you might talk to about Dylan probably will give it. Like a Rolling Stone, one of the greatest songs of all time from that perspective of things. Kicking off Dylan's full transition into electric from after his Half and Half album, bringing it all back home. Great song, scream worthy. That is definitely one of the ones that like I'll put on in the car and I'll just fucking yell. Hits home.
Is he just roasting hippie culture, or who's he roasting? Because that's how it always sounded to me.
Yeah, I think that generally, yeah, but I think it is up for interpretation. I don't think there is a particular person who it's aimed at, but it is a certain type of person for sure. You used to be so amused. Napoleon in rags and the language that he used. I know some people who are fucking bitches and like whine about France all the time. Like that's I mean France is cool and all, don't get me wrong. I saw Paris once. That was badass.
Dude, I've seen Emily in Paris.
But like some people think that like France is the end all be all like greatest thing of all time. And that's a certain kind of person. And don't get me wrong, I went to the finest school, all right, but I spent a lot of time juiced in it. So, but anyway, yeah, Rolling Stone should take that.
Into the quarterfinal it goes. Next up, It's Alright Mom, Only Bleeding, up against Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. I think these are two quality folk songs from Dylan. I got a feeling you're gonna go with It's Alright Ma, and I probably think that's where I'm going. If I'm wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. This one's actually like really close for me. I think this one is really close. Man, I could give it to It's Alright Ma. I think the specificity of it, the fleshing out of these ideas that Bob has, and then if my thought dreams could be seen, they'd probably put my head in a guillotine.
Fuck.
Genius, a self-aware acknowledgement of his radical ideas, compared to a very open to interpretation song from Dylan's early years. I think Hard Rain is great, but It's Alright Mom might be greater. It is really tough.
We got a tough one on our hands, ladies and gents.
I think
I'm gonna push for It's Alright Ma, just because the he who not busy being born is busy dying fucking slaps way harder than my hard dick's gonna come.
Mm-hmm. Darkness at the break of noon, shadows even the silver spoon, the handmade blade, the child's balloon. Yeah, to understand, too soon. There's no sense in trying. Fucking, like, it is so pessimistic. Whereas A Hard Rain, I think, although it is, foreseeing a hard rain that is going to be a fallen, it does have a tinge of optimism in there too. But yeah, I mean, a hard rain makes me feel better. But it's all right, Ma is one of Dylan's best works.
We're gonna send it through.
Well, they both are, but
A
that's a
tough
hard
one. One great folk song must be eliminated in that matchup. Moving on to the next one, though, we got Tambourine Man up against I Want You. For me personally, I just like I Want You more, and there's not too much analysis to go into that. I think it's a great song. It's a Dylan banger. It's an all-time classic love song, and that's about all.
Yeah. It's hard to say that Tambourine Man should beat out I Want You. I think I Want You has that personability of it, that almost helplessness, whereas Mr. Tambourine Man is very hippy dippy, go your own way sort of man. But who is the Tambourine Man? I know who you are, but who is the Tambourine Man? You gotta ask yourself.
Is it Dylan himself?
It could be. It could be. Like, looking back historically, he may have been the Tambourine Man until he decided to go electric. It's hard to say. Or it could be someone else entirely. It could be Woody Guthrie.
Pete.
Could be Pete. It's probably not Pete. But, yeah, I might actually like Tambourine Man more, but I could give it to I Want You.
Give it to I Want You, dude. It's a nightmare matchup in the next round either way.
Yeah, next round is another tough one.
So this one for me is less tough. I like Visions. What just happened to her?
Wait, hold on. Don't do anything. There.
Oh, jeez, man. You stressed me out there.
I accidentally moved the thing.
You shifted everything.
Yeah.
I got Visions over Desolation Row. These are two songs that are too big to break down in a video like this without making it actually 4.5 hours instead of 2.5. But I would lean toward Visions. It does more for me. I think Desolation Row is great at the end of Highway 61, but I gotta go with Visions, man. Joanna's not here.
Joanna's not here. Louise, she's all right. She's just near. That's tough. I feel for her.
It's fucked.
And she makes it all too concise and too clear that Johanna is not here. Like, imagine being the person who makes it all too concise and too clear that someone else isn't here. That sucks. But yeah, I mean, if you asked a younger me, I would probably say Visions hands down, and I would still probably say Visions can take it. But Desolation Row, in my more mature years, maybe last few years, I've really come to appreciate a lot more. Desolation Row, it's very I think, I can't say for certain, but I think Cannery Row provides some inspiration for Desolation Row, as all these kind of vignettes of events going on that are like very well held together by their placement on Desolation Row, and a beautiful end to the song. I can't read too good. Don't send me no more letters. No, not unless you mail them from Desolation Row. Genius. But yeah, I'll give it to Joanna.
We're giving it to her. Give it to her good.
Yeah, she deserves it.
Moving on to the upper right side of our bracket. The Times They Are Changing up against It's All Over Now, Baby Blue.
Yeah, the mainstream thing to do would probably be give it to the Times. And I think I think that might have to be the answer.
I think it has to be. I think it's inevitable.
Yeah.
The times they are changing is Thanos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was when Bob dropped the times. That's when Thanos snapped his fingers. The slow ones now later became fast. Set the set the ball in motion. The Rolling Stone, the proverbial Rolling Stone, if you will.
It really just makes me think, dude. I keep it low key like Thor, and I'm known to keep a hammer.
That's fucking brutal, dude.
No, dude. The thing about It's All Over Now, Baby Blue is like she said, Mabu, I like purple, so I blew it back out and I left it on red.
Yeah, who other than Dylan could have predicted that stellar bar that included a sex joke, an iMessage joke, and a colors joke all in one? I mean, it's genius lyricism that would not have happened without It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. Also, since it's not moving forward, another side note, I think It's All Over Now, Baby Blue should have been the closing song in Breaking Bad. Over that, whoever did that other song. But if we took Felina, the end of Breaking Bad, and you put in It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, man, that would have hit.
Special.
That would have hit.
Something special.
I'm telling you. And it would have fit perfectly.
Jason's on his 4th rewatch of Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I had to make my dad watch it, so.
All right.
It's good stuff.
What are we doing here? Shelter from the Storm versus Sooner or Later One of Us Must Know.
At this point, I think Shelter might have to take it.
Yeah, I think it's I think for me it stands out more in the lyrical department. Like I said, Sooner or Later is a great banger, but I think it's more powerful lyrics on Shelter from the Storm, and a highlight off a great album of love songs and heartbreak songs. So,
I will concede that.
give it to Shelter from the Storm. It's beautiful.
I would agree with that.
It's beautiful, baby. It's a beautiful thing about music. You know something about music, baby? It's beautiful.
But Sooner or Later is a beautiful thing about music too. Little girls.
Stop, dude.
It's badass.
Speaking of little girls breaking, we have Just Like a Woman up against Simple Twist of Fate. Don't do that again, bro.
Dude, I keep accidentally clicking on the back.
I'm just gonna come out and say I'm pushing for Just Like a Woman here.
Yeah, I am okay with that. To me, these are very neck and neck. Depends on the day, I suppose. I really like Simple Twist of Fate, though. And I won't understate that.
I love it as well, but there's no winning in this matchup,
No, there's not.
Except we have to pick a winner, so Just Like a Woman shall move on.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Next, we might finally see All Along the Watchtower get off this bracket, going up against Tangled Up in Blue. I think it has to go. Tangled Up in Blue, one of the great Dylan songs, epic opener of Blood on the Tracks, and really insane storytelling. So many words in that song. I performed that song at karaoke one time, and I know the song pretty well, but by like the 8th verse, I was like, holy shit, there's like 1,000 words or something. Like, it'd be interesting to type out the lyrics to that song and see the word count.
It is a lot of words. And it's some, Bob is spitting.
No wasted bars either. No wasted bars.
Not a single one. No, you can't put any fingers through any of that shit. There's no holes. And I think, Tangled Up in Blue, over All Along the Watchtower. We'll give it to the man. He went through a lot.
And on to the quarterfinals, back up to the top left quadrant. Like a Rolling Stone up against It's All Right, Ma. I'm Only Bleeding.
Oof.
You got to take this one.
Oof. This one's tough. This one is really tough. We've got a criticism versus a personal criticism. Which one bangs harder? Definitely Like a Rolling Stone. Which one says more? probably It's Alright. Oh, it's tough. For me, I think I would have to give it to Like a Rolling Stone, personally. Um, that one, being trying to be like a contrarian high schooler, I like to discount its importance growing up. So like, be like, yeah, like a Rolling Stone, not even like that shit ain't even like top 10. But as I fully developed my frontal lobe, I realized, yeah, that is some of the best songwriting there is.
And let's just be clear, fully developed in your case is still very underdeveloped.
Of course, of course. Yeah, I'm still hoping. I'm hoping for a second puberty, kind of like Bilal.
You're hoping for some extra frontal lobe development, like I'm hoping for an extra inch. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
Like a Rolling Stone has to move on here. I think it is what it is for a reason, and I similarly would like to be a contrarian about it, but sometimes the masses are right.
Yeah.
And that's a good example there. Now we've got down in the bottom left quadrant, quarterfinal matchup. We have two cuts off of Blonde on Blonde, two very different songs from a lyrical perspective. But we have I Want You up against Visions of Joanna. I think this is where we see I Want You fall out.
I agree.
Visions is just the greater song, the grander piece, lyrically certainly.
It's twice as much song.
Yeah, more ambitious.
Maybe not twice as much lyrically, but it is twice
more
as
like
long.
5 times as much lyrically.
Well, in terms of depth, sure, but like, Bob spits. He spits quick on I Want You, word for word. He's got a faster cadence, so the word count is probably a little closer. But nonetheless, yeah, I think Visions should certainly take this. It's a more nuanced, deeper take on love from a more unique perspective, I'd say. So yeah, I think Visions deserves that semifinal spot.
All right. So far, I guess Visions is well, at least I'd say like a Rolling Stone is a heavy favorite type of a thing, and Visions has made its way to the semifinal, not having had such a top seed. But here we go again to another one of our top seeded songs, The Times They Are Changin', coming up against Shelter from the Storm. And I think we might have to see the popular opinion win here again.
Yeah, I think The Times should probably beat out Shelter from the Storm, considering, it's a fallacy. Of course, it's a logical fallacy, but Shelter from the Storm, in my opinion, is probably the third or fourth best song on Blood on the Tracks, and The Times They Are Changing is pretty inarguably the best song on that album. So I would think that The Times should make it over Shelter from the Storm, although I do know that Shelter from the Storm is a strong fan favorite. People, myself included, do think that is a really good cut.
I listen to Shelter from the Storm more often, being that it belongs to Blood on the Tracks, and I think in my personal listening, I would definitely favor Shelter from the Storm. But in the context of this bracket, and for the sake of The Times They Are Changin' is really the torch bearer for early Dylan and his entire folk era. So I think, and I think it's a powerful enough song that it deserves to move on and to hold it down for folk Dylan and for political Dylan, and to act as a strong representative of that era.
Yeah, I would agree.
Shelter from the Storm's better though.
That's I wouldn't agree.
Next we have this is not a tough one for me, but it is a tough one to see go. We have Just Like a Woman against Tangled Up in Blue. Tangled Up in Blue walks for me. It's just a bit better. I think it's a little bit deeper. There's more depth, more complex. There's more of a storytelling aspect to it. Um, like I said, I think Just Like a Woman's very powerful in its own right, but Tangled Up in Blue cannot be fucked with.
Yeah, I think it's pretty well put. I think Tangled Up in Blue allows for a little more like emotional interpolation, whereas Just Like a Woman is a more cut and dry emotional, you know, forward song. I would say, and yeah, I think Tangled Up in Blue. It's more of an epic. It's the best song on that album. And in with respect to our last matchup, with a little bit of foresight into this second matchup on this side of the bracket, I felt like we didn't need two Blood on the Tracks in the semis. So
fair enough. Tangled Up in Blue goes through.
Tangled Up in Blue deserves a semifinal spot, no questions.
And Tangled Up in Blue would walk over Shelter from the Storm. So
easily.
Here we go. Semifinals. Big dogs, Final Four. And this matchup, well, surprisingly for me, I think is actually pretty easy. But either way, we have Like a Rolling Stone up against Visions of Joanna. We've talked enough at length about both of these. I think we can just both pick and then see where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah. It is really hard. I mean, yeah, this one's tough, but I think I have an answer.
I got Visions of Joanna.
I agree.
Well, then we got an easy pick here. Visions moves on to the final. You've listened to this whole thing by now. You know why. Don't ask no fucking questions.
Yeah.
This one I think is a little more of an interesting one, maybe, but maybe even easier for me. We have The Times There Are Changin' coming up against Tangled Up in Blue. Shout out to Political Dylan, but Tangled Up in Blue just tickles me in a part of my insides that I didn't know was there. It really reaches up inside of me and plants a flag where no man has ever been.
Like a colonoscopy.
I haven't had one of those yet, but maybe I'll listen to Tangled Up in Blue when I get my first one.
Do you want one?
Not for free.
All right. Yeah, I think I would give it to Tangled Up in Blue as well. I'm a sucker for the Dylan love songs. What can I say? I'm a young man. I'm not a political activist so much as I am a lover boy. So dude, shout out Drake.
The Times They Are Changin' versus Tangled Up in Blue, really, it reminds me of when Tay-K said, she thought it was my Glock, but my cock very hard. And The Times They Are Changin' is the Glock, where you thought Dylan was on some political uprising shit, but then later you found out his cock was very hard.
That, I don't know if that deserves a response.
Tangled Up in Blue moving on to face Visions of Joanna in the final. And now, I mean, I have to say I'm pretty pleased here. These might be my two favorite Dylan songs, except for the fact that I love Fourth Time Around. But, it's like the monkey brain versus the rational brain. Like rationally, I know Visions of Joanna is the best song on Blonde on Blonde. But, like, the one I'll put on if I'm, like, just trying to listen to a song is probably Fourth Time Around. So it's like that one tickles me in a different way. But, like, the part of me that knows thyself knows that Visions of Joanna is the best song. Mm-hmm. But it does not fuck with Tangled Up in Blue, in my opinion. Tangled Up in Blue is Dylan's best song. I've been trying not to say that outright this whole time as we go through the matchups for sake of spoiling it. But I do think it's his masterpiece. I think it's a song that nobody else could write. And you could argue that Dylan has a lot of those. Like, he really does have such a unique voice and writing style that many of his songs you can't imagine coming from any other source. But Tangled Up in Blue is just the pinnacle of that, in my opinion. It is, like we talked about, the length of it, the wordiness of it, and having just this brilliant story where many things are left open to interpretation. But I mean, it's just amazing. And then revolving around this repeated phrase of being tangled up in blue, which is just, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. It's poetry in motion.
Yeah.
E coming on her face.
Mm-hmm. What? Yeah. I second that. I think, the parallels between these two songs, I think it's no coincidence that these two are the ones that made it to the finals. Because we are looking at two very different Dylans, with Blonde on Blonde leading up to his marriage with Sarah, and Blood on the Tracks exiting his marriage with Sarah. Visions of Joanna and Tangled Up in Blue. Both with these one-line refrains that keep you connected to the greater theme of the song as you progress through all these different events and imagery. I think these are two very similar songs in a lot of ways. And coming from two very distinct perspectives. Like, Visions of Joanna is the longing for, the one true love, whereas Tangled Up in Blue is the resignation of something that is past and allowing it to be part of the past. So they're two songs that kind of look towards each other in a way on the timeline. They're both kind of looking inward, and man, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. And although I might like Visions more personally, I would not necessarily put it over Tangled Up in Blue.
Very well put. It is interesting, like, looking at, because, it's so easy to just personalize music. And these are two songs that it's very easy to do that with. Like, they're such human experiences that it's very easy to draw parallels to one's own life. But like you pointed out, like, looking at them within the context of Dylan, the man himself, like, they really are kind of like we talked about Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands being the end of his hoe phase, but that you also have, in a similar way, Visions of Joanna is that as well. It's like this realizing there's one person he really wants, and then entering into that, and then Tangled Up in Blue is like the retrospective on that whole era then, so it almost looks back and tells the whole story from then on.
Yeah.
So I mean, really, both perfect songs. You can't go wrong either way. I think for the sake of rage baiting, I'm going to say that The Man in Me goes through as the winner. No, I think we're decided on Tangled Up in Blue.
Mm-hmm.
That will be the winner of this Bob Dylan songs bracket. This has been quite a lot of fun to do, I think.
Yeah, no, this has been great. We got to deep dive into 64 great tunes from one of the greatest songwriters of all time. And let us know down below or wherever. Send us an email. Send us an AOL chat message or whatever the fuck. If you thought that two Bob Dylan love songs were going to make the finals. I mean, I think that was probably a little out of left field, but
we're clearly an apolitical fan base here.
Yeah, we it's about the subject matter, how relatable it is, right? But no, I think that was a pretty good bracket.
Pretty good. And let us know if your favorite Bob Dylan song is Outlaw Blues, which didn't even make the bracket.
Mm-hmm.
I feel just like a Jesse James.
Or I was a little, when I made this bracket, I thought When the Ship Comes In was a bit of a snub too. I think that's a good one. But there were a lot of snubs. I mean, if you haven't deep dove into Dylan's catalog, I hope this perhaps gives you some inspiration to do so. And yeah, let us know what your favorites are, what our snubs are, what our brutal takes are. But you gotta remember that this is like factual, and anything you say that that doesn't agree with us is wrong.
Yeah, you can feel free to disagree, but you'll be wrong, and you'll be posting that on a public forum. So just remember that. And also, just seeing as this is the beginning of this venture for us, I think more brackets potentially, like we have some ideas for conversations to have in the future, but certainly if you can think of any artists with a comparable catalog and scope, the requirement would be that they got to have 64 high caliber songs, which not many artists meet that mark. But if you have any bands or singular artists you'd like to see discussed in a bracket form or in like a albums tier list or discography breakdown type of thing, I think those are all conversations that we'd be happy to have. So if there's anything you'd like to see, let us know. If anyone has made it this far, then you're a soldier of God, truly.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I think we'll say goodbye. Any
Yeah.
final words?
No, just thank you so much for coming on this adventure with us and coming on us. It's we're very we're not expecting any sort of audience for this necessarily, but we were doing this for fun. And if you enjoyed it, we are very glad you did. And thank you.
God bless. So long.